What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'll try to make this as quick as I can. So to make the videos that follow this one for this build series make sense, I just wanted to explain to you guys that the bike was in the process of being reassembled already when the owner decided that he wanted to get the frame, subframe, and swing arm powder coated gloss black. So the bike had been painted already. The electrical repairs had been done already. Well, most of them. A lot of the incorrect bolts that were installed on this bike had already been replaced. There was just a world of issues going on with this bike, and I've had the bike in my possession for more than 2 years when he made this decision, and more time has passed, unfortunately. No fault of mine, none of his, just stuff happens. He's a truck driver, so I can't always reach him. He can't always come by. And like I said, I'm just a normal guy. I have a family, I'm going to school, I have a lot of stuff going on myself. So again, I'm working from home, from my garage in spare time. Also, guys, I just wanted to point out that this channel is really, the main purpose is dedicated to helping people understand how to, I guess, break these bikes down to the engine, rebuild them up, customize them, you know, with paint, decals, powder coat, all of that different type of stuff. But I'm focusing on doing this stuff at home. So I've seen some YouTube videos where, you know, people are doing this stuff from home, but they're ordering, you know, brand new parts for everything from the manufacturer. And that's just not ideal for the average man that is trying to rebuild a bike or their wrecked bike, especially. So this channel is really dedicated to helping you guys find cheaper ways to do repairs, builds, customizing, different stuff like that. But it will not just be limited to the garage. We're also going to be doing group rides, meetups, you know, different social events, going out, doing reviews, interacting with people, just, you know, normal things that us as bikers normally do. So we're not going to be stuck in this setting all the time. You know, we're going to be outside. We're going to be on the streets, in the streets, at the meetups, different things like that, as long as time permits with my, you know, school schedule. So with that being said, the bike was already assembled, and it was probably about 70% from being completed when he made this decision. So this series is basically just going to be me tearing the bike down to the engine, and then after I get the parts powder coated, rebuilding the bike to its current state that it is in right now, which is, I got it. So with that being said, I used to have a 2004 R1. This is pretty much where, you know, he got the idea from. My 04 R1, I sold it this past summer. Took me less than a week to sell it, actually. Back to this bike, anyhow. The 2004 R1 that I had sat outside for some years. The reason why is because I had a Gixxer 750 at the time, and I had another bike. I really can't even remember what it was. But anyhow, I had more than one bike. So the R1 just kind of sat outside. I don't even know if there was anything wrong with it at the time. I don't think there was. But anyhow, it was just sitting outside. Then as time went by, the battery started leaking acid. The acid began to leak on the frame right at the weld, and as it kept doing that, I noticed that it started to carve a you know, a ridge or whatever you want to call it, right at the weld line. So I didn't really care for that. And since I was going to have to powder coat that frame anyway because of the damage from the battery, I just decided to replace it. I got a salvage frame from eBay for like 400 and some bucks if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember the miles that it carried with it, but it was a salvage title anyway. So the bike, before I replaced the frame, had, you know, all original miles on it, and I had just cracked 14,000 miles. So anyhow, without getting into too much detail about that R1, man, I really love that bike. And I will try to put a picture or a video so that you guys can see the 04 R1, because unfortunately I do not have it any longer. Once I did sell that bike though, I did purchase two more bikes. I purchased a 2019 Gixxer 600 and I purchased a 2017 mangled R1 from the auction. So anyhow, getting back to this one, a lot of the repairs have been done already. I had fixed a lot of the electrical issues, the wiring, it was just a lot of the bolts that needed to be replaced. I had replaced quite a bit of those. The paint was done already. The powder coating was done already. And on top of that, when I have to stop and take the bike apart again and get things powder coated again, no knock to him because he's a paying customer, but it saves you money as a customer to get all this stuff done at once. And I do understand that sometimes you have to see the stuff together and then you're like, it's still not doing it for me. I want to do more. And that's pretty much what I've been, going through with this bike. I've been adding more stuff to it as I go, because it's like, man, that's too much open space, or something should go there. It just looks out of place, so I understand later on, you want to add more things to kind of fit the look that you're going for. But man, it's just the timing was really bad because I was beginning school at this time, and I'm in school for surgical technologist. And if you don't know what that is, I work in the operating room, literally shoulder to shoulder with the surgeon, doing what I thought was just, passing tools to the surgeon, but it's not. It's a lot. It's way more than that. It's a lot. You have to know medical terms. You have to know anatomy. It's a lot. So basically, I'm doing surgery in the garage and I'm doing surgery for a living. So with that, the schooling is very demanding. It takes a lot of studying. It takes a lot of my time. Plus, I'm a family man. I have kids. I have a wife. I got pets. Mojo. Yep. Nope. So I have all of this different stuff going on, and I did let him know, like I said, that it would take longer because of that. On Christmas break, I was finally able to start putting this thing back together again. It is a roller. I have not applied power to it yet. As a matter of fact, I just had to go and pick up another battery for this bike. I think I've gone through 2 batteries for this bike so far. The first time they replaced it because it was still under warranty. These are just cheap batteries that I get from a local battery supplier around here, and I only pay like 50 bucks for the batteries. They actually last a lot longer than the 2 years that they're supposed to last. But for this bike, it's been apart for so long, it has not been charged. The battery was just no good, so I had to replace that battery with another one. So probably this week, as I'm doing this rebuild, I'll probably just wait until I'm back on camera messing with it. Editing has been taking a lot of my time. I'm trying to edit the videos for this bike. Then after that, I have to edit the videos for the Gixxer, which was supposed to actually be my first video. It's been a learning experience, I'll say that. I'm not really a camera person. I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like speaking in front of people, any of that stuff. It just doesn't fit my personality. So trying to do a YouTube series is really, you know, stepping out of my comfort zone. But it's something that a few people have encouraged me to do because I have built so many bikes. I've sold so many bikes. I've customized so many bikes. People, you know, just been telling me, man, like if I'd been putting this stuff on YouTube a long time ago, I would be, you know, on a pretty high level as far as I guess content creators go. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, hopefully the channel will be successful enough that I can actually hire someone to help me do my editing, because for me doing it's just so demanding trying to do that with school and family and everything else that I have going on. I have replaced, like I said, a lot of these bolts that were missing. They have been replaced now with the proper bolt. There's still some stuff that I have to do, like these rubber grommets here. We upgraded the brakes, the brake lines to the steel braided. We were supposed to have been switching these rotors out, but unfortunately, the wave rotors that he got, man, this bike, when I tell you this bike has parts from all over. Most of the stuff on this bike, well, a lot of stuff on this bike does not belong on this bike. I don't think either of these wheels actually go to this bike, because the first time we ordered wave rotors for this bike, both of them were wrong. The bolt pattern was wrong, everything. Now we have the rear wave rotors on and they fit, but the front ones do not, because the new ones are wider than these. Don't know how that happened, but it did. So that's something I'm waiting for him to bring me, these rotors, so that we can get those swapped out. Say they wanted to replace the odometer with a digital one. Still looking into that. If any of you guys have, you know, any websites or anything to get that done, I would appreciate it if you left the link in the comments. But other than that, guys, I think that is about it. All right, so enjoy the video, guys. I will see you at the end of the video. But then again, you probably won't see me at the end of the video, because I think this whole video is going to be voiced over. That's just the way that it worked out. And for editing purposes, I think it was just easier for me to voice over a lot of the stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the overview of this bike, and then we can get into actually tearing this bike down, get to what you guys actually came here for. So the reason I began making this video after I had already started assembling the bike is because I'm going to have to take this bike completely apart. As I mentioned with my 04R1, everything that was glossed, he wants to get done to this bike. So the bike has to be broken all the way down to the engine. Now that really sucks, because the amount of electrical work that I did to this bike would have been much easier to do with the bike disassembled. But most of that electrical work was going back and fixing quote unquote repairs that were done by another mechanic. Shade tree, under the porch. I don't even know what you can call them, because the work that was done to this bike is just horrible and never should have been done. I've had this bike in my possession for over 2 years at the making of this video, and as you can see, I need the space. Currently, as I was making this video, I was working on this 2019 Gixxer 600. Just getting minor stuff done to it. The parts that are not attached to it are all being powder coated, I think gloss black. So far I've only painted the fuel tank and added the tank pads to it, but there's still a good bit left to be done to this bike as well. This 2017 R1 I purchased from the auction. I also plan on doing a build series for this bike as well. These forks do not belong on this bike at all. They came from an 04. They're just on there to help me move the bike around the garage or elevate it off the ground, you know, things like that. So back to this bike. Like I said, originally the bike came in for cosmetic stuff, but as we kept finding more and more issues, we started addressing those issues. And yes, it is beginning to be costly, but things like this, for instance, spray painted black reservoir, so you can't tell how much coolant is in the reservoir, it just did not make sense. So like I said, the way you see the bike now, the powder coat had already been done. The paint had already been done. He went from an orange and black dull looking color, and he wanted more of a Lambo orange color. So I got this color. It's a Dodge Mango orange, and I added some gold pearl to it to kind of give it more of that Lambo look. Obviously, it's not, you know, Lambo color, but it looks really good in the sunlight. It looks really good. And yes, it does change colors. When it's in darker colors, it looks a bit different from when it's in sunlight. So that's one of the effects of pearl. I love using pearl in paint jobs, but also finding different ways to save money on paint jobs, because you can pay over $1,000 for not even a decent paint job that I've seen out here in Houston. You know, some people have been charged between $800 and $1,500 for crappy looking paint jobs, and it's just amazing to me, you know, that people are willing to pay that much money and not really get what they paid for in return. So part of the reason why I've never test ridden this bike is stuff like this. There's a bolt broken inside the engine, and part of that bolt is hanging outside the frame, and I absolutely hate bolt extractions, especially of this size. As I had mentioned before, some of the bolts had to be replaced because they just did not belong on this bike. So pretty much all the bolts that I replaced, I either painted or powder coated black so that they would tie into the paint scheme. And here we have more electrical issues. This one is for the brake light. For some reason, it was cut, broken, torn apart, however you want to put it. I spliced these extensions on so I can route them back up and easily connect them. They'll have a little bit more slack, but that's okay. And as I just mentioned, the bolts, as evidence, this is the type of bolts that were installed in this bike. I still have not replaced this one yet, but these are the types of bolts that were, you know, in various places on this bike that had to be replaced. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but that is not the correct bolt for the shock. That's just a bolt that I put in there until I can actually get one from Yamaha. The last time I went to them, they did not have an ETA of when they would have that in. But because of what was in its place before, I never test rode this bike. And just to give you an idea of what was there prior, if you take a cross-tip screwdriver and you cut the handle off of it and just shove that in there to hold the shock, that's equivalent to what was there before. I can't tell you what it was, but it definitely did not belong there. It definitely was not safe to be there. So guys, just be careful who you let turn wrenches on your bike. These things can take your life if they are not reassembled properly. And if you don't use the correct bolts and parts, they could come off at a bad time, which would also cause you a lot of pain. So just be careful who you let turn wrenches on your bike. So with that being said, guys, the next video, we will start disassembling this bike and getting it basically down to bare bones, which is just the motor. So wheels, tank, frame, everything is coming off. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Until then, stay safe.